do is have to come back again sometime if you guys really want me to.
Oh, absolutely.
And next time we'll make it a 4 hour. Usually my lectures last about 4 hours, and I'll do a workshop the next day, which is a little easier to take care of things. But because of my schedule this time, it was just a little impossible. Because of our time sequence, we have to get out of here at a certain time, or approximately, más o menos, approximately 11 seconds.
Time is only an illusion.
Yeah, time. Everything is an illusion. Remember when we was talking about it? You're an illusion, you're a hologram. Now, some people said I better stand clear up here because they want to see me. Is that better?
Yeah.
Yes? Okay, I'll do that. Because of the timing that we are squared away with this time, like I say, if you all want me to come back again sometime, I'll be glad to come back. You just have to arrange it with your group. I'm really here to have you guys get the handbook, Embracing the Rainbow and Becoming. And what I want you to do is get together with the groups that are already meeting. And by the way, they're meeting all over the planet right now. I've never seen these things, even in Tibet.
Wow.
I was totally blown away. 20 sets went to Tibet. And they're in Russia. First time I ever got a Western Union for money out of Russia.
Nobody gets money out of Russia.
I did.
That's pretty awesome.
Well, there's money over there. I'll give you, this is a besides the point thing. You guys know what city has more billionaires than any other city in the whole world? Moscow. Did you know that?
No.
Everything's an illusion that you hear. It's all out here. What they had it, it's all over the old wealth, obviously, and Russia is extremely wealthy with all kinds of things. The problem is that their climate, if you look at it, it's like the Canadian area and above. My son spent a lot of time in the secret city on their nuclear technology, and we were discussing that. But right now, I think for the balance of the time, I'm going to do two things. I'm going to try to give you guys a direction to go in the days ahead. Because the extraterrestrials told me a long time ago, when I started publishing all the bad things about what's going on the planet, their answer to me says, what good has that done? And I'm seriously. One of the things is you have to be aware of it. Don't put your head in the sand and say it's not going to affect you, because it's affecting all of us. Me too. All of us are together. And I love you all, seriously, because you're all together. We're all together. I want you to all consider it's all a big bubble. And we're all bubbling together at this minute. And I'll tell you how fantastic it works. Hold on one second. I'm going to do something. I want all of you to put your hands up. Just like this. Face them towards me. And what I'm going to do is I have an ability to call on the energies to go through me, so each one of you feel part of me. All of you. The entire room. Do you feel it in the back? Small tingles. A little warmth. Do you feel that? We are all one. Let me give you some, that's okay, I'm going to cut it down now. It means what I do is affecting everything that you're doing. Everything that you do is affecting somebody else someplace else. And the 4 rules that are spelled out in the handbook are the way you're supposed to live the rest of your life. In other words, if you take the first law, which is the law of attraction, what you put out, you're going to get back. You have to look at thought. Remember in the Bible, whichever version you had in John 1, where it says, in the beginning there was the Word, and the Word was, you remember that? Yeah. Let's change one word. Is it okay? Mm-hmm. In the beginning it was thought. Aren't words thought out loud? When you pray, aren't you putting out thought? When you meditate, aren't you hoping to receive thought? Who I'm involved in, who actually is the author of these books, people have asked me, is at the thought at the creational level of not only of this universe, but others. We are so out of balance of this planet. I feel humbled that I've been given the job to act as a publisher for the extraterrestrials at the conscious level to awaken those that will awaken And every one of you have thought. Every one of you can manifest. It's a question of awakening to the knowledge to do that. Remember when Christ made 1,000 loaves out of bread? What did he do? He took a dozen, he visualized, and he created them by calling on the creation, just like I just got you doing with you guys, putting forth the energy to know that you have it. I'm able to balance energies. I've learned how to do that. So if somebody is sick or something, I learned how to do that. I can usually bring you back. The problem is, how did you cause it in the first place? And most things will go back to where you started. So I may give you an instantaneous relief or something else, or headaches or whatever you're talking about, just by using the energies. And I don't touch you. I just use my energies to balance you. The problem is staying in balance in the first place, because that's what's going on. We have to find out. Remember that little book I showed you a while ago, Your Body Knows Best? Because you can find out what is necessary to cure yourself naturally. You can know what's necessary to make the decisions that you need to do in the days ahead, and we need all the help we can do and have. The next thing I want to talk about is, obviously, where do you want to live? And I'm not a traffic cop, so I can't tell you. You get together with your groups, you want to start figuring out the logical progression of where. There's no place that's going to be safe on the planet. I mean, some places are going to be safer than others. I was kind of directed. I had about 4 or 5 places where I could have went. I just decided where I wanted to go, which was in Idaho, and I don't want you all to show up in Idaho, but the thing that happened is that the most valuable mineral on the planet is water. Water is an interesting situation. Do you realize that water, as we drink it, and we've had some people in here talking about using thought and crystallizing water. But if you take water and freeze it, it expands and it'll break a bottle, right?
Right.
But if I heat it up, it also expands and breaks the bottle. It's still the same water. Where are we getting all this energy? I'm just telling you, we have a lot of things. The most, people have heard of Germain. Germain supposedly be the alchemist who's given us information on frequency and condensing. You know the best alchemist that we have running around the streets right now? Common cow. Common cow goes out, eats green grass, right? And gives white milk loaded with calcium. Where do they get the calcium? There's none in the grass. These are just some things to look at. People in here, have you heard of colloidal silver?
Yes.
I have a real problem with colloidal silver. I'm going to give you a real quick chemistry lesson. Colloidal silver is basically silver that's in a solution that is used to basically cut down bacteria, etc. But when you have colloidal silver, you put it on a wound or something, and it'll cure a lot of things. Back during World War I and World War II, when a soldier got shot, they would put a silver coin over it, and the body would create a level and it'd heal it up. A friend of mine, doctor down in South Carolina, started developing. He's world famous over here for orthopedic surgery, taking off people's legs and everything else because of all the things happening. And he found out that if he took silver and put it into a bandage and wrapped around the bandage, that the body would become whole again and he didn't have to cut it off. It's called silver-on bandages. They are available. Right now, I used to have them available to show you, but the FDA stepped in and said a bandage has to be prescribed by a doctor. But it is available. Now, let me tell you what my problem is with colloidal silver from a chemistry standpoint. Colloidal silver is pure solution silver, and I've done tests on it. And if you put it into the water, it starts breaking down about 20% a day. So that means you better, in other words, it's losing its being in suspension for that period. If I drink this colloidal silver, what's the first thing that happens? It obviously hits your mouth, which is okay, but it gets your stomach. What acid is in your stomach? Hydrochloric acid, right? Well, chemistry-wise, if I take HCl and add that to Ag, which is a chemical formula for silver, it immediately converts to AgCl, silver chloride, which is a base, which means it's not going anywhere. So we've lost all of the momentum on it. That's what I'm telling you. However, what you think happens. So what we come back to, since everything is a product of the thought, let's do it that way. Okay, the next thing we want to discuss is the monetary situation. The New World Order's money situation is this. There's going to be two types of money. One of them is the plastic card, like I showed some of you people out there already. It's right here. It says convenient, secure, global cash. I was with the president of the company who was flying down to Dallas when we were discussing this. They just printed 500 million of them. That's extras. They're doing them all over the globe, by the way. They're getting this thing set up for, it says global cash. It doesn't say dollars, it says cash. What they're going to be doing is, if you have the illusion of cash in the bank, it's gone. If you think you have real estate, you don't own it either. All real estate in the United States is held by what we call the regular title policy, and it all subject to taxes paying to the state. If you don't pay taxes to the state will take your property and sell it to somebody else. So indirectly what you have is constructive right to use the airspace subject to keeping it up and paying the taxes, right? So you're doing this for the government, which is who? It's not all of us like it used to be. It's a small group of people that are telling you what you're doing. So real estate, and even though I was a big developer, I've gotten rid of all my real estate that I had in the world, except for I still own a couple of pieces of property in Costa Rica. And I'm almost entirely in gold and silver and not stocks. Now let's talk about stocks for a minute. I was a financial principal and an underwriter of stocks. That's the biggest con game going on the planet right now. The stock market is nothing more than a bunch of people playing with a bunches of pieces of paper out here, a big monopoly game with nothing behind it. The stockbrokers make a business of trying to convince you to buy this stock that's going to go up, but who? They don't own the stock. They get a commission every time they sell it. But who do they buy the stock from? Some other stockbroker. And or a mutual fund. Mutual funds are nothing more than another stock that owns a bunch of stocks. It has no voting rights. A mutual fund has a custodian bank as holding the money, and we have a mutual fund manager that manages supposedly portfolio of stocks. Okay? I'm going to give you some understanding here. The average age of a mutual fund manager is about age 30. There are more mutual funds than there are stocks on the stock exchange. Mutual fund manager only gets its bonuses by what? Getting together with meetings behind somebody else and convincing you this is the latest thing to go. The problem is that most companies, there's a few exceptions, don't pay out dividends, don't pay anything because they don't have to. The companies themselves have the ability themselves to keep all the money once we've issued the stock, and I'm an underwriter. As once I've issued the stock to the public, and I got all my rest of my brokers to share in it, we gave you what we call an IPO, and basically initial public offering, then you are hoping it's going to run up. It's kind of like what they just got you doing to a couple stocks on the, yeah. At any rate, what we're looking at is all you're doing is trading between each other, guys. Your odds are better off in Vegas. It really is true. Now, the situation is this piece of paper represents absolutely nothing other than maybe an undivided interest in 1/1000th of whatever's left, but you don't even know what the accounting rules are. Are you familiar with the term GSE? That's government-sponsored enterprises. Government-sponsored enterprise. Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac are not government agencies. They were sponsored originally in order to provide money for the housing. Remember? They hold right now approximately a little over $6 trillion of mortgages. They have no assets. Their asset base that they're using on their deal are derivatives. For all of you, are there any accountants here in this room? If there was, I'd like them to give me a definition of how they can determine the value of a derivative. A derivative has no, it's an arbitrary figure. They just arbitrarily created it out of thin air, and how they get to it is, let's give you an illustration. I showed some of you people that I have a piece of gold in my pocket. Well, here's a piece of silver. Okay, I actually have physical silver in my pocket. If I agreed to sell